Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday night. I know I'm throwing you off. We had Brian Scott Red before us. Then there's John. I see you're like, wait a minute, is it Tuesday?
Is it Monday?
Is it Monday?
Is it like
I mean, it's a holiday, so that kind of throws a whole other thing.
that is?
I'll be honest, John. I kind of wasn't sure until I got the email if we were even doing tonight.
Well, of
Because
course we were.
Well, there's been past times on Labor Day because it's the last hurrah
That's true.
with
That's
the families that sometimes we don't. But
true. And after this particular weekend, so we started a project, and I'm going to call it a somewhat family project because it's been Lori and I and the two youngest boys. The rest of the kids have got jobs and sports and whatever. So we decided to kind of do some roof repair this past weekend because we've had some we've got a leak in the in one of the bathrooms. So it's like, well, it's something we should dig into because it seemed to be intermittent, and we figured, well, it's got to be something. If it rains hard enough, you've got that, it must be what's causing it. Turns out it wasn't that. There was just a lot more water damage than I had expected. Oh, it's been. So here we are in day. Today was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Lori and I and the two little boys spent 10-hour days up on the roof working on it. And today we got it back reassembled, and we got it basically watertight just before it started raining. It's not done, but it's watertight. But
that's the important part.
it is.
Watertight is
But
important.
having that family time or that doing that for the last 3 days, my kids are like, yeah, I'm done. We're gonna go play video games, Dad. We're done with you. Go.
Now, were they actually on the roof, or did you make them get in the attic?
No, we don't have an attic because it's all. So they were up on the roof. They were helping. We have a steel shingle is what we have on that, which is their screw applied, very similar to steel siding. So the boys were running the guns and doing that, and they've been helping with ripping things out and moving, cleaning here and there. And then today it was putting the tar paper down and getting ready to do the new valleys and things. And so they've been involved in learning a lot. So it's been a great teaching opportunity. One of the negative things is that you're on a story and a half roof, and there's always that part. It's like, just walk carefully, walk slowly. Oh, they're way more sure-footed than I am. But
Yeah.
Lori and I are going to have gray hair because they understand, there's the edge of the roof and they stay back. It's just that, they're still your babies and you don't want them to get hurt by something silly. So
That's right. They got up there. My wife would have put the kibosh on him even getting on the ladder, let alone onto the roof.
Yeah.
So, you had that extra help.
I think these boys have probably been on the roof before we knew about it. As far as they all of a sudden, every once in a while I hear, a toy flew up on the high part of the house and we had to go get it. And it's like, that's 23 feet in the air. You were up there? Yeah, I had to go get it. oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, I think the kids are done with me this weekend. So I've been making them work. So tonight, Dan, what I wanted to hit is since our last conversation, you guys went back to school, and I wanted to kind of compare a little bit of going back to what you were experiencing at the school for the first time to here, a couple, just really kind of do some comparing and contrasting of what you have seen, observed, and felt as you have been doing these things. And I figured, who better than you to talk about this topic tonight?
Well, it's kind of funny because I wondered if this was the direction you were going. I wasn't sure if we were going to focus more on the school stuff, but I was like, that's kind of a little bizarre. But I've been back more than a week for events, so I wasn't sure. But last night I started thinking this.
Let me hold it. For those of you wondering why I would ask that question about him going back to school, this is really for any of you or us out there. First off, that are going back to work in any capacity and working with the public. That's really where I want you guys kind of envision this, is that in Dan's situation, he's a school teacher, and there's obviously different things with that. But for some who haven't been back to their daytime job yet, or are going to need to get back to that, and that's where they get hearing Dan's thought process as we go through. That's why tonight's topic pertains not only to the event side, but the other side also. Okay, sorry, Dan, I wanted to set it up a little bit better.
No. That's fine. That's fine. Um, yeah. So I was starting to see I was starting to think along those same lines of there's a lot of comparisons here between some of the events that I've had and in my case going back to school. Um, I think one of the first places that really jumps out for me where there's been um, just that comparison is kind of that relief, if you can call it that. Like
Okay.
there's a lot of nervousness surrounding the wedding, so everybody's a little concerned. The numbers are not quite what they were going to be. So you have this nervousness of are we really going to be able to have the wedding that we want to have, or that we wanted to have pre everything going on? And with schools, I'm seeing that same type of thing. It's, when they shut down, it was very abrupt, at least in PA, where it was, the schools, we actually left school on a Friday. We were out of the building. We were on our way home, and we got an email that was sent immediately that said, yeah, we're not coming back on Monday. So like we had no warning. We were already out of the building and gone when everything came through. So, for the students in that, it was kind of like this, we're coming back and we don't know what to expect. Like we're a little nervous. We know what it was going to be like before. We don't know what it's going to be like now. And so you have this excitement. And I think for a lot of you that have the day jobs, we're going to call them, you have that same type of thing where you've been off for a while, you're finally coming back, you're excited, but you're nervous. You want to be there, you want to be a part of it, but you're also nervous of what's it going to be like. Are all of my coworkers coming back? Some of them you probably kept in contact with through Facebook or whatever, but some of the other ones you're like, I know there were some cutbacks at my job. Did somebody get let go? Within my school, I had one teacher who, about a week and a half before school started, she quit.
Sure.
She said, I'm not coming in this year. She's like, I don't want to teach in COVID situations. Just felt very uncomfortable. I think she kept holding out hope that we were going to be in a situation where we were going to be full remote. And she obviously would have been okay with that, but she was just nervous about
Right.
being in that situation. So you have coworkers who may have also quit because of that. So compare that to the wedding side. I know you have other event specialists and stuff that you work with that probably are in that same boat. That they're holding out. I know, at least in my local area, there was a couple of photographers who said, listen, like very early on, I'm not comfortable. I'm high risk. Here's the thing. I'm sorry. I'm going to refund all your money. I will also help you find somebody else. And I'm just going to say, I can't do this until things are safe again. And whatever that meant for them is, I didn't get into them with that, but I know there were some of those that were in that situation.
Right.
You also have guests who are in the same situation. Like they're like, I don't feel like coming. Yesterday, my wedding yesterday, my heart broke for my groom. So his mom and grandmother showed up for the ceremony. They had 4 seats sitting for them, greatly removed from the rest of the wedding. I mean, to the point that like my speakers are angled this way and they're like way back here.
Oh my.
Like I would say easily 30 yards from the nearest person. And so watching them from where they were, they could see, but it's not like they were, when they told me they were going to be separated, I expected like some seats just kind of over to the side.
Yeah.
Like far enough away, but not like that far away. And that was not the case. Like they were completely removed. And then on top of that, as soon as the wedding ceremony was over, they left. They didn't stay for pictures. They didn't stay for a dinner. They didn't see the first dance. They saw nothing. The ceremony ended. They got in their car and they left. So my groom did not have his dance with his mom, and has to unfortunately think about that, down the road.
Did he know going into it that that's how that was going to play out?
Going into the day, yes, but that change happened 3 weeks ago.
And not that we're faulting anybody in this situation. This is just the reality of the moment in history.
I think it was one of those things where there were some question marks associated with it, but I think there was hope that they weren't going to feel as uneasy about it, which I thought it was interesting because when it came about, like it was in my viewpoint somewhat late, just to kind of have that feeling. So there was that, and then there was others who were very clearly like staying back, and I see that at the schools. We have students who are very cautious for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
For good reason. I know of some area schools who have had positive cases reported just over the weekend. So, it's one of those things where it's definitely still here. We're in a rural area to a degree. And so sometimes you don't think about it. And then all of a sudden you hear, oh, there's been a case at that school. Oh, there's been a case at that school. And not just rumor, like reported cases. So you have that same situation. You come into the weddings and there's always that concern. So that's one of the big areas that I would see connections to start with.
So let's just look at the teaching staff. And again, in Dan's case, he's teaching. For us, think of this in the aspect of wedding professionals. If you could break it into percentages, Dan, of those on the staff who are, this isn't a big deal, and then like the one particular teacher who she just can't handle, she's like, it's not worth it. I'm done. If you've got, those types of people who are basically on the edge of that, those who are just concerned, but are going to, can function. And then there's the people who just are thinking this is ridiculous and we should just be going on with life as normal. Where do you think your adults in the school district there, where they would fall percentage wise?
Oh, percentage wise. I would say the case like the first teacher where they're extremely concerned. I would say definitely a small percentage. I would say 5% and under. Now, and let me phrase that from the gatherings that I felt.
Right. Yeah.
Because I know of another teacher who in the district who was extremely lucky because got moved to a different position at a different school within the district. That school had a couple teachers go full remote and they offered her that option to do so. Now, I also know that she's not high risk, but like a family member or a spouse or something like that is high risk. And so like she was very concerned. And I think had we not had that position and that opportunity not open for her, I wonder if she would have been back. And she's also one that is only a few years from retirement. So it's that's another scary thing is we have some of these people who are flat out quitting. Now, I know some jobs in some districts also, when we're talking about schools, have opened it up as an opportunity of, listen, we'll hold your position for you. You take a year. We understand it. It's not paid, but you take a year or a year sabbatical if you have the days built up. And then when you come back, there's a job waiting for you and we'll have long-term sub, whatever. I know there's some districts that are doing some things like that, which I think is awesome because if there's somebody at risk, like it's scary. Yeah. It's just downright scary. Because the last thing you want to do is I got to have this job and I'm taking it home to somebody. And if something happens, it's like, that's just, even though you weren't, you're doing everything you're supposed to, but unfortunately things happen. Yeah. And then to kind of split it, you were asking percentages and I got sidetracked there.
Yeah.
So the ones in the middle, I would say that was probably where majority of our staff is. Like, we're going to be cautious, but there's also like overboard. So to put it in perspective, in PA, there was a mandate that it didn't matter if you were 6 feet apart. If you are in the building, you are supposed to be wearing a mask. Like, that is mandated for us. And there's an option to do shields and that kind of thing. But you're supposed to be wearing something, face covering of some sort. It went so far that we were on in-service days and we were told that it applied to us as well, to the teachers, and that the only way that we could take our mask off is if we were in a room by ourselves with the door shut. And when it went to that extent, I kind of went, okay, now, like, I get we have to be distant. Okay. But if I'm in my room and my door's open, like, is that that, so there was a lot that were kind of like that. I would say there's very few that within my building, they're just kind of like, this is just completely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just be completely normal. And I think also because we recognize that even if we feel like we're okay personally, what I see a lot of my coworkers recognize is that our kids are living with grandparents. They're living with aunts, living with uncles who are sometimes elderly or sometimes at least high risk. And so big concern, like we're worried about them. We're worried about their well-being if they catch something and take it home to grandma.
Yeah, and that's probably the I think we're starting to see more of that concern rearing its face as we're continuing on with this, because we're in a very rural area, as more rural than the area that you're in. But we're 2 months ago, maybe, or when school was out and there were few cases in central Minnesota, I would have said that they were probably talking a 50-50. 50 were slightly concerned, and 50% were basically like, this is silly. Let's just get on with life. As things have progressed, and you've seen, you saw that summer hit down in Texas. For some reason, people in Minnesota thought the New York thing was just a bunch of dirty New York things, that they must not, clean their streets or something. That's why everyone got sick. I don't know. The New York thing didn't scare people as much as the Florida and Texas thing did up here. So there's more of that concern, but we still we have a percentage. And now this is, from my observations, not only within the school, which I've spent some time talking to some of the teachers, but with the other wedding professionals in our area. You've got most percentage of people who are concerned and want to do things right and wear the masks or whatever they think is going to help keep people safe. And then you've got this little percentage over here that it's just absolutely, the world is a bunch of this. We're all sheep, and this is horrible, and everything should be wide open. And then you've got on the other end where you have people who are like, I'm done. I've got 3 DJs that I know in the area here, and again, small area. There's not, but they're in their 20s, and they're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. I've got severe asthma, or I've got this or that. They've each got a health risk situation, and they're like, I can't do shows. So it's an interesting world right now with what's going on with that.
I would also say, from what I've noticed, it's interesting who takes it the most serious at the event.
Okay.
From that standpoint. So going in, to these events the past few times, in the beginning, and we talked about this, I think, in a previous show where, I would have a few guests that would come in with masks. My very first wedding, I don't think anybody really came in with any at all. Then my next one, people came in, they sat down for the ceremony, they took them off, and then they ended up never putting them on again. Mm-hmm. And then yesterday, again, the only people that were wearing masks of any kind, outside of like the mother and grandmother and stuff that were concerned and sitting off to the side, and no, granted, they weren't wearing it during the ceremony, but I watched them wear one as they came in, was the staff. But who seems to take it, and when we talk about the staff, who seems to take it the most serious is, it seems to be the owners too. Like the employees are not quite buying into it the same. Mm-hmm. Masks are often like down around chins or, different things. And then, then I got to put it back up. And yet the ones and the owners who are like busting their tail just as much and sweat dripping down their face. And they're the ones who are like, no, we're doing everything we need to do, and we're keeping ourselves 100% on board. And again, maybe because they have a little bit more to lose, so that's the deal. But I did find it interesting how, like, just watching interactions between a caterer, for example, who's the one that's jumping in full force with the following the mask idea, and who's just kind of like going along because it's a job.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen at your events any shaming, left or right, where people were, such as the mother who they were way in the back, that the other guests were like, well, that's just stupid. That kind of a situation where non-mask were choosing to make light, or make not light, but to condemn the actions of like the mother and a grandmother who didn't participate.
No, and I think, like I said, a lot of the reason is because people that are wearing them anymore, it seems unfortunately to just be the staff, whether it's the caterers, whether it's
So
the
just
DJ, whether
not
it's the
seeing it.
photographer, like that's it. In fact, I was impressed. My photographers yesterday were the first set that I've seen wearing masks when I mean, a couple of my other ones, they never even came close to putting one on, let alone wearing it. So kind of a little bit difference there. But no, there wasn't any shaming, and I think because a lot of people understood why they were, like that grandmother was at risk, was a concern and stuff like that. But it was a little interesting. Like they're sitting very far removed. The guests get dismissed from the ceremony, and rather than going the direction they were supposed to, like they started following the wedding party. So they started going basically right by mom and grandma. And like I saw one guy go like running over to like give her this big hug, and someone else yells, "You can't do that!" And it was just like, you're not supposed to go. And so I kind of turned away at the moment to see if he actually got to them. But I mean, he was, he could have reached out and touched him by the time somebody caught his attention. And it was funny because like even she didn't say like, listen, stay back. It was just kind of like, and maybe she didn't even catch it until it was too late, or until all of a sudden he was like right there. Because it was literally like he was just like, I haven't seen you forever. Oh yeah. So yeah, no, I haven't really seen a lot of shaming going on. I think it might be a little bit different, or you potentially could see some difference within the if the guests were wearing it. I think they come to understanding that the people who are working are going to wear one. I will say though, there could be some subtlety in that shaming. For example, I talked about the one where they wore them. They came in for the ceremony. Not everybody did, but a solid handful of them did. And then they weren't wearing them the rest of the night. So almost like, was that okay? It looks like I guess I don't have to wear one, so I'm not going to. Or was that look like, oh, I feel weird because I'm not wearing, or I'm wearing it and you're not. Okay.
Oh yeah, and that's huge. I mean, Lori and I have experienced that when we've gone to stores, funeral. You walk in and here's a room of people, and we're the only ones wearing a mask, and it's I could kind of feel Lori's kid thinking, it's like, should we just take them off and go? And it's like, we're going to make a statement, or we're going to be responsible. We're going to do what we're supposed to be doing, and if that's making a statement, or that's making setting an example, that's what we're going to do, because it's the always default on it's the right thing to do. But yeah, there's many a times I'm the only one wearing a mask in this store or that store, or doing this or doing that. It's just the way it is, unfortunately.
I also find it interesting. It depends upon the setting that I'm in, how I personally feel about it.
That's where I wanted to go into that now. It's more your personal feelings about how these events and how you're going there.
Yeah. So tying it back to the school setting and tying it to work, like that's not an option. Like it's required. Like we're not even, like if we were to walk in the building without a mask, we would get like shamed like big time by our boss. So that's a moot point. But when I go to a store, it irks me to no end to watch people that don't wear their masks, don't wear it properly, or and this was sometime over the summer. I saw one guy walk in and he looked like he had like a crocheted doily, like what I mean, like with like the big gaps in it, and like that was his mask. And I'm like, dude, come on, like just what the heck.
Yeah.
And so like when I go into certain settings and I see that, it just irks me to no end. But then I go to my church, and it's kind of funny, like I walk into my church and I'm one of the handful that is wearing one, and where and I'm like, I feel almost weird. But anymore, I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, I've been doing it consistently, and I'm just like, I walk in and I'm like, there's enough old people here. I could have picked something up. I don't need to potentially spread it, especially because I'm around people. So I do my thing, and I came in, and when I bring my son when my son's with me, same deal. You're wearing your mask, dude. Come on, let's go. And it's cool, but it is again a slightly different different type of feel. Now going into the events, it's also kind of like what's going on as far as when I'm wearing it or not. So yesterday when I was setting up, not really many people around. Everybody's just kind of doing their own thing, setting up. I didn't wear my mask. It was a big open barn situation. And so it was just one of those things where I didn't grab my mask. And so I just started setting up. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, not wearing it. Shoot. And so then by the time I got to do some other setups, I made sure I grabbed it. Mm-hmm. I also have a difficulty with, I'm not going to be on my microphone with my mask over my face. Like I in my head, the MC ability, I'm not doing that. So I'm on and off. I finally found a mask that fits my big head that I felt comfortable last night. So I was like on and off, but it was quick. Like it was off in my pocket of my suit. I take it out, I put it back on. It's not as stylish as a Rob Freire or a Mike Walter one, but it's sharp and it's fit. It actually matched my suit. I was like, all right, this is good. So from that standpoint, I've become more comfortable at events because the mask that I'm doing, and because as I'm doing more, I just realize I just need to do it. Mm-hmm. So
how was your that feeling the very first time you were in the room full of with children or the students there, or the very first time you had people dancing right in front of you within a range which they could be? How did that uneasiness, was that there for you?
So with the students, not so much. They're masked, and I know masks are not perfect. We're not going the whole route with that, mm-hmm. But I don't feel as much because I'm also they're close, but it's a little bit different. The dancing a little bit more, but I've also noticed that, with the exception of my very first one, my guests haven't been right up on top of me. Mm. The venues that have been big. Like, the last night's was a big barn. So like think of the big tractor bays. Like that's the dance floor.
Okay. So
huge amount of space to move about. The tent one we had a little while ago, I was set up, there was grass, and then there was the dance floor. So they were away. But where I felt uneasy is when they've come up and they're asking for a request. I haven't set up the safe request. I haven't set up Brandon's request system, which I think is completely awesome. And I think you should drop the link because people should be using stuff like this. I just unfortunately haven't set something up like that yet. But using that type of thing. So when they're coming up to talk to me, I do get a little uneasy. Sometimes more because they're drunk than anything else. But like you're not taking the precautions. You're not from nearby. Like, I don't know you. Mm-hmm. I don't know where you're hanging out. I don't know what you do when you're not here. Like, are you feel comfortable without a mask because you know everybody and you're around these people normally, or you just never wear a mask? So it's there is some uneasiness, but I haven't felt terrified. I think because I'm not in that high risk category, and I'm not in that 5% or under, which is extremely concerned mm-hmm. about this. Where I'd say I do have my biggest concern is, and this is just this is what terrifies me, that there's going to be an outbreak at my school, and that's going to put me into a quarantine, not because I'm going to get it, but it's going to put me into quarantine, and it's going to affect my on the weekend. Mm-hmm. That I think right there has been my biggest, like, every day. And when some of these outbreaks are coming in the nearby schools and we're hearing it, and it's like, oh, okay. Like, okay, we dodged that bullet. All right. Give me through a couple weekends. Give me through a couple weekends and they put me in quarantine. Okay, we're okay. But if it happens, it's like, fortunately, there's been enough people who've had stuff postponed. I probably can get coverage, but it's still, I'd rather do the event myself. Mm-hmm. So, my kids are a little bit different in the fact that the youngest one is Lucas Ford, and he has no clue of anything that's going on with this. And Brendan understands a little bit. He's a little bit older, but with your kids, have they kind of taken on that concern like as well, or are they kind of like Dad, where it's like we're going to be cautious, but we're not like really worried?
It's interesting with that. So I've got kids who have been involved with other activities and such, as they've been kind of starting a little some of the approved fall activities, and there's a level of concern that I've heard from them that I guess I understand their concern. One of the things that, and we heard this on airlines, is that if people are eating, they can take their masks off when they're eating. So then on some airlines, people have seen where they come in with a box of Cheez-Its and they sit and snack on Cheez-Its for an hour straight and they don't have to wear their mask. Some of my kids have been seeing things like this happening with some of the other kids that don't want to wear masks. They're going to find things like that. And I was surprised at how my children were upset about that. And I've been told from a couple of them that they're going to, tomorrow's their first day, and that they're if they don't feel safe, they're like, do we have to go if we don't feel safe? And it's not, they want to go because they want to see their friends and they want to have that. Mm-hmm. But that, because we've been asking, throughout the last 6 weeks, it's like, okay, what's your feeling on it? Because we can do in person. Right now they're giving a person option, or they can do the distance or what have you, or a combination thereof. And the kids want to go back, but they're like, but if other people aren't going to be doing safe things, I don't know how excited I'm to be there from the kids' perspective. So it will be interesting tomorrow, the report I get back from them, because in essence, they're feeling that their coworkers aren't looking out for their best interest, which is actually more of a mature thought process than many adults have. The kids have figured out that, okay, your mask protects me. The kids have got that. And then I'm wearing a mask, last Thursday en route, and I had somebody say, that's not protecting you. No, a baseball bat will protect me. If you get within 6 feet, I got that. Yeah, to keep you out of range. But it'll be an interesting situation to see what that comes about, because in some ways they're looking at things a little bit different, I guess, than I probably would.
And I think when we tie that to our events, I think we're seeing the same thing. And I think let's say we take your wedding, and let's say the couples or the people that you're working with at the wedding, they're having a repeat wedding every week, okay, or a repeat event every week. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. I think what you would end up having is the very first one would be exactly like what we're seeing now, which is at least what I'm seeing now, which is the guests are coming. They're not really masking up. They're not really doing a whole lot. They're definitely not keeping distance. They're hugging. They're seeing each other and that kind of thing. They're shaking hands when they're doing, to say byes or whatever. And they're going on the merry way. By the next week, you would see the amount that come would be drastically changed because people weren't following the rules. Mm-hmm. weren't following. So it was almost like we're okay with showing up and not necessarily having it because it's one time. But if it's 2 times or 3 times where I'm going to be around these same people, now maybe it's a little bit different situation. Now we're not gonna be around. And it's also like your kids, they want to see their friends. You want to see your coworkers. You want to get back. And the first time you see them, there's the question of, do I, if you're close to them, do I give them that hug or, the handshake or whatever? Just, I haven't seen them for a while. Do I do that, or do I stay back? And that first time you see them, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, but now I've got to question if I need to be away from them and stay back. And so I think our guests are kind of in that same venue. It's like, we're so excited to see each other. I haven't seen you. And in their case, it might not be because of quarantine. It just might be because they don't see each other. And the instinct is to want to hug them and say, I haven't seen you forever. Mm-hmm. Come here. Give me a big hug. Because the idea that they could be carrying something because we know them is so difficult to grasp. I think it's when you don't know somebody, and that's why I think why we've seen a lot, and I don't want to get political on this, but why we've seen a lot on Facebook of, the people who think there's nothing to this, or that there's an overreaction to this, is that they don't have somebody personally, or multiple people personally, who have had this in any capacity, let alone a life-threatening one. And so when you come to the wedding, no, if there was a chance they were sick, they're not coming. Well, that's not necessarily true. And so it becomes one of those things we've got to kind of just protect ourselves as best we can, and at least, if nothing else, to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think from the aspect of a performer, that the idea of, if I brought something to the event, or someone got sick because of, I'm delivering newspapers, and if I deliver newspapers to and I do to nursing homes, and I go into the lobby, set the things down. There's 2 doors, but if I was, somehow went in there and coughed or sneezed or something, and it went through, and somebody got sick for whatever, granted, it's so minute, but the possibility is there. Those are tough things to weigh out, is that my actions could harm someone, and we again know people, so you can see that this is you don't want to see other people being put in those positions where they are as helpless as some of our friends have been with this. So it's a tough area, and trying to figure out what a person can do and such, and what a person should do. I think in the teaching and that type, or if a person had that regular group of people you're working with, it's a little bit different. But in that wedding industry, you could be seeing 100 people on Friday, a different 100 people on Saturday. Next week, I got to see another 100 people here, another 50 people there. It would be so difficult because of that variety you mentioned.
Yeah, and especially right now, I'm sure a lot of us are in the situation where we had things from the spring that were postponed, and where we typically may have only done one in a weekend, you're now doing 2 or maybe 3. So you're definitely around a larger group. I also, another observation, not necessarily tied together, but an observation from my event yesterday. So I picked up the windscreens, the protective screens for over the microphone. My best man, my matron of honor, and the person doing the blessing all came up to the microphone stand. Nobody touched it. It was like I didn't set it perfectly on height, but nobody touched the mic. It was like perfect. I was like, this is great. I put the initial windscreen on. I gave I had the best man go first, I had the matron go second, then the blessing. I gave the next one to the matron. I said, when you get out there, because also where I was set up was way too far away for me to try and run in between.
Yep.
So I said, listen, you're just going to pop the other one off. You're going to put this one on, do your speech. Gave one to the blessing. Nobody touched it. They didn't put the windscreen on. They didn't touch it. They didn't do anything. Like, it was like, forget it. Nope. And I told him beforehand, because when I gave it to the matron of honor, she's like, what? And I said, you just put it on over top. And I had my microphone. I said, it's just like this. You just put it on over top. And she goes, okay. She's like, don't get mad at me if I forget. And I took that to mean she wasn't going to do it. She wasn't
going to do it, no.
And I basically went, here's the thing. I did what I was supposed to do. Beyond that, your call. And she just goes, gotcha. And it is. It's CYA type of thing. You're doing the best possible thing that you can do. You're covering your butt as much as you can. And so, unfortunately, you've got to be aware of those types of things. And I think that's also, the tie behind it, because you do everything you can so that it doesn't cost you your business through negligence.
And even the perception, because you're going to have people out there, as Howie mentioned, and I mentioned earlier, and Howie kind of agreed with the, doing the right thing. And I guess I'd rather be known as the business that is doing the right thing, following the guidelines or the code that's out there, or the mandates or whatever is out there. Because there are people in that crowd who are going to be like, It's uncomfortable. It's not as much whatever, but they were doing the right thing, as opposed to there are people locally who will not shop in our local stores because they know they go into that store and none of the employees are wearing a mask, even though it's a mandate in Minnesota. I ran into a gentleman. I was going into the store. He was coming out of the store, and he's like, I can't shop in there. And well, what? I thought maybe there was a problem or something, electricity's out or whatever. And he said, there's nobody wearing a mask. And he goes, I'm not going to be in a store where all the employees and none of the other customers are wearing a mask. It's like, yeah, there are folks who are paying attention. And I would rather be known as that person than the one who's like, hey, any rule, we'll bend it, we'll break it, whatever.
But you know what? Even if your guests aren't paying attention, which they are, okay, don't be an idiot on that. They're paying attention. But even if your guests aren't, you know who is? Your venues, your caterers, your photographers, like the people that you're working day in and day out with at these events. And if it's your first experience with them, especially given the scenarios that we're in right now, it's going to go light years better if you conduct yourself professionally and then you do something professional. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I thought of last night. When I got finished, like I'm on this venue's referred list, mm-hmm. like to the point that when I get a request or when I get like an email that comes in and says you got a request and here's the place and it says vendor referral, I know it came from them. I know it wasn't the photographer or somebody else. I know it came from them, and so last night, knowing like when I finished, I'm wearing my mask, I'm tearing down in my mask and it was dripping wet, but they knew that I was doing what I was supposed to do. And they were tearing down, like they were putting all the tables away, wearing masks.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And so, I knew that their opinion of me was not lessened because I took a shortcut.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So,
yeah. Freddie made the statement. It's important to show people you care, and I think that's fits right in with what you're saying. Freddie won't hear this for another 22 seconds, but that hits that nail on the head. Is that you respect them, you care enough to put yourself in an uncomfortable. It's not the most comfortable doing things with that. I get that, but it's an important thing I think we need to do right now, if for no other reason, just for that respect of the businesses.
And everybody, we're all, I shouldn't say everybody, all the states that I'm aware of, it's become a situation where the expectation is that you're wearing it.
Yeah, it's been very, very,
and so kind of one of those, if it's the rule, just follow it.
Freddie asked if we've heard any other beyond Maine and I would assume Indiana, but he typed India. If there were any weddings where people have spread at weddings, there's been a couple in Minnesota. There's at least 3 in Iowa that have had guests getting sick from transmission at weddings. It's out there. Those are going to be happening. The cool thing about a lot of the weddings, though, is, Dan, how many you've done 4 now?
5.
5. How many of them were in an airy situation, whether under a tent?
It's all except for one, because in PA now it has to be.
Yeah, and I think that we're not hearing many of them because we still are in the summer/fall where we can be under a tent. We can be in a pavilion. I think we hit into the cold weather months here in the upper Midwest, and either you're not going to see any events or we're going to start to hear more, just because it seems indoor is a stronger spreading situation. So,
yeah, PA went to 25 max if it's indoor, 250 max if it's outdoor.
Yeah.
Now, there's been and this is where it gets a little crazy in gray area, where I'm going to be running into that very soon. Some of the barns that are classifying themselves outdoors because they can open enough doors and windows and sides, but technically, in my viewpoint, we're still inside.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and if it's cooler weather outside, you're not going to have everything wide open.
Yeah, I don't know how that one works.
Because
So.
I mean, if you're going to get this weather mass that we have, we're talking possibly freezing temperatures tonight and tomorrow night.
As I say, it's already snowing there, isn't it? I mean,
It
we're in
probably,
September. I'm surprised you guys don't have 3 feet by now.
yeah. Poor Ben Stowe may be making ice cream in his front yard tomorrow night for the show. It could be great. Could be good TV. Ben, what are you doing? I'm out chipping some ice off my car so we can make some ice cream. It'll be great. Oh. Well, excellent. So yeah, tomorrow night coming up, we've got Ben Stowe's show. Gosh, I don't remember. Oh, we were going to do some kind of an ask Ben Stowe anything night. We haven't done one of those for a while, and it's like people have got questions and then they never think about it until we're on a show. So we're going to get through some do an ask Ben Stowe anything, and then Brian and Jay. Gosh, wouldn't you know? I can't. I completely spaced on what the topic, but. It was actually a pretty good topic. I thought the guys would have a lot of fun with that one tomorrow night. So we got the 2 shows. Interesting. Our music archive show, the one that hits on Sunday mornings, this week is still we're Dan cuts it, and in the video, the show is going to be
different.
Dan Cheney. Sorry, Dan Cheney cuts the audio, or he goes through and does his research and cuts that. The topic was. The top 10 songs with the word work in it for Labor Day work, that kind of thing. Cool. So he went through and he did, and it's a neat little list. So Jimmy's putting it together as typical, and one song blocks it. And then another. I think he's probably tried like 6 times to upload, and editing and changing and tweaking and modifying. The last time he was, when I was talking to him earlier today, he's slowed it down to like, 25% of the speed, and they still caught it. So Jimmy may have to be uploading that particular one with no audio, because once you start getting into some of these more the popular rap artists, they're like, nope, sorry, can't utilize it. So yeah, that will be hopefully sometime this week, because it was a neat little list, and we'll see what we can do from that with that. But yay, YouTube. So the chill room is open, djntv.com/chill. You guys can pop out there and hang out tonight. Next week. We're not going to be doing our regular shows next week. It's going to be the DJNTV DJ Talks. I've got a ton of videos. I still have a couple of videos that are coming in. And are still, so since I couldn't finish editing because I've been up on the roof, we still have time. If you want to, you're like, hey, I want to get a 10-minute talk in. That will get you eligible. We're going to be giving away 2 $500 gift certificates. Basically, it's a $500 shopping spree at an LFX Pro. You win. We're going to draw one from the people who do a video on Monday night, one on Tuesday night. All of the people who do videos, their names will go on a hat. I'll draw one Monday night and a different one Tuesday night. So you have a chance to win one of those certificates. Then if you're watching Monday night and Tuesday night, we're going to give away 2 $100 gift certificates to NLFX Pro to the viewers. But the presenters don't have to be present. The viewers, you do, because we're going to do it in a chat room. We've done this in the past where we've just basically, hey, everybody comment, blue, and everybody type blue. And it's like, okay, the 7th person to type, and then that kind of a thing. So that'll be happening. DJNTV DJ Talks, they're TED Talk type topics. We're going to be going Monday from roughly 8 until 11, I believe, on Monday and Tuesday night of next week. So looking forward to that. It should turn out really well. I've gotten a lot of videos in. There's going to be kind of a variety of different topics and a variety of different places people were presenting from and talking from. And so it's not just watching the same old, 2 or 3 people talking. It's going to be every 10 minutes or so another person's coming on to share something they're passionate about. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. I when you first announced it, it was just kind of like, this is perfect. Because if you don't have time for an hour-long presentation or a 45-minute presentation, whatever, something like that, those little snippets, because there's gold in each and every single one. So
everybody's got something to share, and you can always learn from anyone. So most of the time it's, you can pick up that one little nugget that's like, that's a great idea. I could use that. I could take it and tweak it and make it my own. Most of the time. And then there's occasionally the times where it's like, okay, that just was so bad. I learned not to do that, but not too often. Most of the time, there's a hidden nugget in everyone you meet. It's just your job to find that nugget and
see how much you have to polish all the crap off of it.
Yeah, no, that wasn't worth it. All righty, let's take it home, Dan.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you saw some comparisons to if you are having that day job and you saw the comparisons between that and your events. And if not, you also gave you maybe some perspective on your events as they start to open, or hopefully for like our buddy down in Melbourne, hopefully within the next couple months, he's going to be able to have something down there for them as well. But we appreciate you for tuning in. Please have yourself a wonderful evening. We'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.